It's strange, the things you remember most vividly from childhood. Not the big holidays or the fancy vacations, but the quiet moments, the ones where you felt something shift inside you. For me, it was always the feeling of being translucent. Like I was there, but not quite. Always just a step behind my younger brother, Ethan. He was the sun, and I was just a faint shadow, barely clinging to the edge of the light. Growing up, our house in Richmond, Virginia, was practically a shrine to Ethan. My mom had walls dedicated to his baby pictures, his sports trophies, his elementary school artwork. My pictures? 2, maybe. One from my birth, which I assume was a formality, and another from my high school graduation where I was mostly cropped out, a blurry background to Ethan's shining face beside me. That kind of told you everything you needed to know about where I stood. The favoritism wasn't subtle, not even a little. It was like a masterclass in how to make a kid feel invisible. Ethan got everything on a silver platter. I clawed and scraped for every small victory. Different rules, different expectations, different levels of love. When I wanted to play football at 16, I did all the research, costs, practice schedules, everything. My dad barely looked up from the TV. Too expensive, too much time, he said. End of discussion. 2 years later, Ethan decided he wanted to play lacrosse. Suddenly, money wasn't an issue. Top-of-the-line gear, specialty shops 3 towns over. My parents drove him to every practice, every game. Custom jerseys with his name. Social media posts. The works. When I dared to point out the blatant double standard, my mom just looked at me with this blank expression and said Ethan had natural athletic talent and it would be a waste not to nurture it. Like I was just not worth nurturing. My potential was worthless. I ran track by myself, bought my own shoes, bummed rides to meets. They never came. Not once. I placed 3rd at regionals my senior year, and they only found out when my guidance counselor brought it up at a parent-teacher conference. College was the same story. My parents sat me down the summer before my senior year and told me flat out they couldn't afford to help me. Ethan's expenses, they explained, had stretched them thin. Community college was my only option. So, I figured it out. I worked full-time, loading trucks from 11 at night until 7 in the morning, taking classes part-time during the day. I slept when I could, which wasn't often, living on ramen and peanut butter. It took me 6 grueling years to get my accounting degree. When I finally walked across that stage, they arrived 20 minutes late, missed my name, sat bored in the back, and left before the reception because Ethan had a thing. My coworker from the warehouse took the only photo I have from that day. Ethan, meanwhile, sailed through a state university on their dime. Tuition, housing, meal plan, spending money, spring break trips. When he changed his major 3 times, it was finding his passion. When he failed classes, the professors were to blame for not understanding him. When he finally graduated 2 years late with a communications degree and a 2.3 GPA, they threw him a catered party, flying in relatives from out of state. I got a text message, "Congrats." Period. No exclamation. After college, Ethan moved back home, into a newly renovated basement apartment my parents built for him, new carpet, bathroom, big screen TV, mini kitchen. I moved into a 400-square-foot studio with stained carpet and flickering lights, barely enough to cover rent and food. When I asked if I could stay at home for 3 months to save for a deposit on something better, my dad told me, "Real men don't move backward. Stand on your own 2 feet." This from the man who'd just built his other son a luxury suite. The irony was a punch to the gut. Every family dinner was the Ethan show. His latest ideas, his new girlfriend, his unfulfilled potential. My mom would ask him about his life in excruciating detail. I was just furniture. If someone remembered to ask me something, it was a one-word question that got a one-word answer before the spotlight swung back. I could cure cancer, and they'd find a way to mention Ethan once donated blood. I just kept my head down. Accounts receivable clerk, staff accountant, senior accountant. Each promotion, a little more money, a little more respect. I lived below my means, saved everything. I passed my CPA exam on the first try, which garnered a 2-word text, "Good job." Meanwhile, Ethan got a party for landing a 6-month contract social media gig for a friend's failing restaurant. He bounced from job to job, each failure someone else's fault, and my parents funded every gap, paying his car insurance, phone bill, giving him spending money. Never once asking him to stand on his own 2 feet. By 27, I was finally comfortable. Controller at a mid-size firm. Good salary, benefits, stability. I bought a modest 3-bedroom ranch in the suburbs of Richmond. It needed work, old roof, 80s kitchen, weeds for a lawn, but it was mine. Paid for with years of grinding while my family ignored my existence. Ethan was still in their basement at 25, still figuring out his path. Then the lottery happened. I'm not a gambler. But my coworker, Sarah, was organizing an office pool for a massive Mega Millions jackpot. She cornered me in the break room. $20 for a share. I said no, then caved just to get her off my back. Didn't think about it again until Monday morning when Sarah burst into my office, screaming that we won. We didn't hit the big one, some couple in Texas did, but our group matched 5 numbers. My share, after taxes, was roughly $127,000. Not quit your job money, but for me, someone who'd scraped by for a decade, it was freedom. I paid off my house, my car, my student loans. The rest went into investments. The psychological weight that lifted was immense. For the first time, I wasn't worried about money. My mistake was telling my family. At a pot roast dinner, during a lull in the Ethan subscription box fantasy hour, I casually mentioned my good news. I actually thought, for a fleeting moment, they might be happy for me. The silence was deafening. My mom was the first to speak, that tone I knew so well, the one that meant Ethan was about to get something, and I wasn't. She said it was wonderful news and the money couldn't have come at a better time. Ethan, she explained, just needed startup capital for his business plan. Since I was financially stable, maybe I could help my brother achieve his dreams. I actually laughed. I thought it was a joke. No one cracked a smile. My dad jumped in, family helps family, that's just how it works. He reminded me they'd always been there for me. I almost choked. They had never been there for me. I funded my own education, they funded Ethan's extended vacation at state school. I bought my own car, they bought Ethan a new one. I paid for my everything, they handed Ethan a silver spoon. Ethan, to his credit, looked slightly uncomfortable, but he didn't tell them to stop. He just sat there, looking at me expectantly, like I was an ATM that had finally started dispensing cash. I said, no. Plain and simple. I told them the money was mine, and I had plans for it, securing my own future because no one else was going to. Calmly. That's when it all went sideways. My mom started crying, not sad tears, but angry, wounded tears. She called me selfish, ungrateful. Accused me of being jealous of Ethan, too cruel to watch him struggle. My dad's chair crashed backward. He called me a disappointment, said everything they'd ever done for me meant nothing. He called me just an accountant who got lucky, as if the career I'd built through years of education and hard work was a slur. I stayed calm. I laid out the facts. Every time they chose Ethan over me, the football versus lacrosse, the college, the cars, the basement apartment versus real men don't move backward, the graduation party versus the 3-letter text. Every double standard. Every ignored achievement. Every dollar spent on him while telling me to figure it out. I told them if Ethan wanted startup capital, he could do what I did, get a job, work hard, save, sacrifice, earn it. Ethan finally spoke up, calling me ridiculous, saying I was making a big deal out of nothing. He promised to pay me back once his business took off. The business that existed only in his head. I said no. To all of them. Then I walked out of that house for the last time. The pressure campaign started immediately. My mom called daily, alternating between crying pleas and cold threats, Bible verses about family loyalty. My dad sent long emails about family honor and how disappointed my grandparents would be. He compared me to an estranged uncle, predicting I'd end up miserable and alone. Ethan showed up twice, once with a hastily written business plan, the second time with my mom. I sent them away. My mom called me heartless, Ethan a sellout who forgot where I came from. Then the family meeting. My parents called a gathering of aunts, uncles, cousins. My dad demanded my presence. I knew it was a trap, but I went, foolishly believing someone might see reason. I was wrong. My mom had poisoned the well. She'd spun a tale where I'd won millions and refused to help my struggling brother. She omitted the years of favoritism, their financial support for Ethan, their complete lack of it for me. I walked in, and everyone looked at me like something they'd scraped off their shoe. My Aunt Brenda was so disappointed. My Uncle Richard spoke of blood being thicker than water. My cousin Michelle, whom I'd once thought reasonable, couldn't believe I'd let money come between me and my family. They cut me off every time I tried to explain. The narrative was set, I was the villain, Ethan the victim. Finally, my dad stood. He declared that since I'd made it clear I didn't consider myself part of the family, they'd grant my wish. You are dead to us, he said. Officially, permanently disowned. He told everyone present to treat me the same. No contact, no invitations. As far as we're concerned, I only have one son now. Then he pointed at the door. My mom was crying, that satisfied, triumphant kind of crying. Ethan stood behind them, smug. I looked at their faces, these people who had always chosen him, now banishing me for refusing to continue the tradition. I just said, okay. Then I walked out. I drove home that night and sat in my driveway for a long time. Then I went inside and started making changes. I blocked every single one of them. Changed my phone number, deleted my social media. I wanted to disappear as completely as they wanted me gone. The first few weeks were strange. I kept expecting a call, a knock. Nothing. They actually meant it. Part of me was relieved, part angry that it was so easy for them. I threw myself into work. Within 6 months, I was being groomed for promotion. Within a year, VP of Finance. 2 years, CFO. Each step brought more money, better benefits. I invested everything. I bought a bigger house outside Richmond, 5 acres, with a pond and a detached workshop where I taught myself woodworking. I installed a security system at the front gate, I liked my privacy. I traveled, Japan, Iceland, New Zealand. I sent postcards to nobody. I dated, for the first time since college, and learned what I wanted and deserved. I made real friends, people who valued me for who I was, who celebrated my wins without asking for a cut. Then I met Chloe. We connected at a conference in Denver. She's a financial analyst, ambitious, kind. When I finally told her my story, she didn't pity me or try to fix me. She just said I'd built something amazing out of a bad situation. Her family welcomed me from the start. Her mom made me a plate before I sat down. Her dad asked about my work and remembered the details. Her parents call me son. Her brother invites me to watch football every Sunday. I finally understood what it felt like to belong. 5 years passed. 5 years of no contact. 5 years of building something real. Then last month happened. Chloe and I were getting ready for the farmer's market when our security system beeped. I pulled up the app, expecting a delivery driver. I dropped my phone. Standing at my gate were my parents. They looked older. So much older. My mom's hair was completely gray, she'd lost weight. My dad leaned heavily on a cane. They were in a beat-up sedan. Chloe picked up my phone. Are those who I think they are? I nodded. What do you want to do? She asked. I want to hear what they have to say. I drove down to the gate in my truck. I didn't open it. I just rolled down the window. What do you want? My mom started crying immediately. They'd been trying to find me for months, she said. They needed to talk urgently. It was about Ethan. I asked again, what do you want? My dad cleared his throat. The arrogance was gone. He looked defeated. Ethan was sick. Really sick. A rare autoimmune condition attacking his nervous system. Experimental, expensive treatment out of state. Insurance wouldn't cover it all. They'd burned through savings, taken out a second mortgage, sold Ethan's car, most of their valuables. They needed money. A lot of money. They'd heard through the grapevine I was doing well. He asked if I could find it in my heart to help my brother. I asked how much they needed. My dad said the treatment would be $200,000 over 2 years. They had $40,000 left. They needed me to cover the rest. $160,000. My mom started pleading through her tears. She knew they'd made mistakes. They were sorry. Ethan was her baby, she couldn't watch him suffer. She begged me to put the past behind us. Where's Ethan? I asked. Why isn't he here asking for himself? My dad said Ethan was too sick to travel, too proud to ask. Too proud. The kid who'd never earned $1 in his life. My mom reached through the gate, tried to grab my arm. I pulled back. She became frantic. They'd do anything. Apologize publicly. Tell the whole family they were wrong. Make it right. Just help Ethan first. Do you remember the family meeting? I asked. The one where Dad pointed at the door and told everyone I was dead to them? She said she remembered, she was sorry. Do you remember what you said to me when I tried to explain my side? She went quiet. She hadn't said anything. She just cried and let everyone else attack me. My dad tried a different tactic, listing medical details, making it sound urgent and scientific. I let him finish. Then I asked him one question. Would you have come to Ethan's gate, asking him to help me? Neither of them answered. I looked at my mom, her gray hair, her tears. My dad, his cane, his defeated posture. I said 4 words. Ghosts don't have bank accounts. Then I rolled up my window and drove back to the house. They stood at that gate for an hour, pressing the buzzer, yelling. My mom collapsed at one point. My dad stood at the camera, talking directly into it, apologizing, begging. I watched it all on the security cameras. I felt nothing. Eventually, they left. 2 weeks later, they returned. This time, Ethan was with them, in a wheelchair, thin and pale. My dad pushed him to the gate. My mom pressed the buzzer. I watched as Ethan looked directly into the lens and started talking. He was sorry. He should have stood up for me. He needed my help, he was begging. I didn't go down. I turned off the monitor and made breakfast with Chloe. They stayed for 3 hours. Ethan kept talking, my mom crying, my dad pressing the buzzer. Eventually, a police cruiser showed up. After 10 minutes, they left. The next week, my Aunt Brenda showed up alone, driving her fancy car. She stood at the gate, demanding I talk to her. I watched her for 30 seconds, then went back to what I was doing. She left after an hour of yelling about family loyalty and how I was killing my brother. Then the letters started. Handwritten ones from my mom, 3 or 4 pages, referencing good times that were always actually about Ethan. My dad sent a formal letter through a lawyer, asking about a loan with interest. I threw it away. Ethan sent 5 pages of apologies, saying our parents put him in the middle. He never asked for favoritism, he knew it was wrong but didn't know how to stop it. He said he was dying and wanted to make things right. I read the whole thing. Then I threw it away. A month after the gate incident, my cousin Sam called from an unrecognized number. He apologized for the family meeting, said he was too scared to speak up. He said my parents were calling everyone, trying to raise money for Ethan, and they were going to lose the house. I told him I appreciated the apology, that I didn't hold anything against him. I told him what happened to my parents and Ethan wasn't my problem anymore. He understood. He just wanted me to know not everyone agreed. He hoped I was doing well. I told him I was doing great. Last week, Chloe and I had dinner with her parents. We told them we're expecting our first child, a little girl. Her mom cried happy tears. Her dad shook my hand and pulled me into a hug. Her brother started making jokes about being an uncle. It was everything I never had growing up. On the drive home, Chloe asked if I ever thought about reaching out to my biological family, just to let them know about the baby. I told her no. They declared me dead 5 years ago. Dead men don't send birth announcements. She squeezed my hand and didn't say anything else. Yesterday, I got a notification that someone was at the gate again. It was Ethan, alone this time, in a different wheelchair. He sat there for 20 minutes, just looking at the house in the distance. He didn't press the buzzer, didn't say anything. Then someone came to pick him up. I deleted the footage. I found out through a friend of a friend that my parents did eventually raise enough money. They sold the house, took out loans, got help from a charity. Ethan started treatment a couple of months ago. I don't know how it's going. My Aunt Brenda has been telling the extended family I'm the reason my parents lost their house, that I could have saved them. A few cousins tried to yell at me, I blocked them. Sam messaged me last week to say my parents moved into a small apartment. My dad, at 68, went back to work. My mom barely leaves the house. He wasn't trying to guilt me. He just thought I should know. I thanked him for the update, then went back to painting the nursery. Does everyone eventually get what they deserve?